Hey there. So picture this. You're standing on the cracked, dry floor of a place called the Racetrack Playa in Death Valley. It's one of the hottest, most inhospitable places on Earth. The ground is a flat, sun-baked expanse, like a giant's mud pie that dried and shattered. And scattered across it are hundreds of rocks, some weighing as much as a small car. Behind them, trailing in the hard clay, are long, meandering tracks. Deep grooves, as if these stones went for a stroll. But there's no one around for miles. No animal big enough to push them. No sign of any prankster. Just the rocks and their silent, mysterious paths. For over a century, this was one of geology's greatest puzzles, the sailing stones of Death Valley. Welcome back. I'm Ibnul J. Farabi, and this is Echoes of the Ancients. I remember first reading about this as an engineering student, utterly fascinated. Here was a problem that seemed to defy basic physics. Stones don't move themselves. And yet, the evidence was etched right there in the desert floor. Theories, as you can imagine, ran wild. Some said it was the work of powerful, localized magnetic fields. Others whispered about supernatural forces or alien intervention. More plausible suggestions pointed to dust devils or hurricane-force winds. But the math never quite added up. The winds on the playa, while strong, didn't seem nearly strong enough to shove a 700-pound boulder. And if it was wind, why did some rocks move while identical ones, just feet away, stayed perfectly still? The mystery was perfect because it was patient. It just sat there in the California desert, waiting for someone to catch it in the act. The key to the mystery wasn't some grand, dramatic force. It was a delicate, fleeting recipe of very specific conditions. And it took a brilliant, collaborative effort to finally witness it. For decades, researchers would go, place markers, take measurements, and come back to find the rocks had moved while they were gone. It was maddening. Then, around 2011, a team led by a paleobiologist named Richard Norris and his cousin, a research engineer named James Norris, decided on a different approach. They brought in a set of custom-made, motion-triggered GPS units and a weather station. And then, they waited. They had to, because the movement requires a sequence of events so precise. It's like a secret dance the desert performs only when it thinks no one is watching. First, it has to rain. In Death Valley, that's a rare event in itself. But not just a sprinkle. Enough rain to flood the playa floor, creating a shallow, temporary lake. Then, the desert night has to get cold. Bitterly cold. This causes that thin layer of water to freeze, forming sheets of clear, window-pane ice around the rocks. Now, here's the beautiful part. When the sun comes up, the ice begins to melt. But it doesn't just vanish. It breaks up into huge, floating panels. These panels, just a few millimeters thick, are driven by a gentle breeze. A breeze of only maybe 5 to 10 miles per hour. And as these ice sheets creep across the shallow meltwater, they nudge the rocks trapped within them. The rock, buoyed and partially lifted by the ice, offers little resistance. Its edge catches the playa mud, and it begins to slide, leaving that iconic trail in the soft sediment below the water. The movement is slow, graceful. It might only move a few inches a minute, for just a few minutes, before the water evaporates and the desert floor returns to its parched state, preserving the evidence of this ephemeral ballet. The team finally captured it on camera in 2013, and the footage is almost anticlimactic in its simplicity. After a century of grand theories, the answer was a quiet, fragile collaboration of water, ice, and a whisper of wind. What strikes me about this, as someone who loves both engineering and a good story, is the profound humility this mystery teaches us. We often look for big, powerful explanations, massive winds, strange magnetism. We expect drama, but nature's solutions are often elegantly minimal. They exist in the narrow margins where a few ordinary conditions align in an extraordinary way. It makes me think about problem solving in my own life, in my work. How often do we overlook the subtle, quiet factors because we're so focused on looking for the hurricane? The sailing stones moved not because of a single, violent force, but because of a perfect, gentle balance. The ice had to be thin enough to float and move, but strong enough to grip the rock. The water had to be shallow enough to allow the rock to scrape the bottom. The wind had to be just enough to overcome friction, but not so much that it shattered the ice. It's a lesson in precision, in interconnectedness. There's a personal resonance here, too. As an immigrant, as someone who's moved from the waterways of Bangladesh to the concrete grids of New York, I see a metaphor in these traveling stones. They sit still for years, decades, seemingly permanent fixtures in a vast, empty landscape. Then, under the right, rare conditions, they move. They carve a new path, leaving a permanent record of their journey in a surface that seems so unforgiving. The movement isn't constant. It's not even predictable, but it's possible. It requires that specific alchemy of elements. For people, those elements might be opportunity, necessity, courage, and a little bit of help from an unexpected source, your own version of that floating sheet of ice. The trail you leave behind is proof that you were in motion, even if the forces that moved you were gentle and invisible to the casual observer. So the next time you're faced with a problem that seems immovable, or you feel stuck in your own personal playa, remember the sailing stones. Look for the subtle conditions, the small amounts of water, the thin sheets of ice, the gentle, persistent breezes. The most powerful movements aren't always the loudest. Sometimes they are quiet, patient shifts that only reveal their logic after they've left their mark. The mystery of the Racetrack Playa is solved, but its echo remains. A beautiful reminder that the world still holds quiet wonders that wait for our patience and our curiosity to uncover them. Thank you for listening to this episode of Echoes of the Ancients. If you enjoyed this story, I'd be so grateful if you'd share it with a curious friend or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. For more stories from the crossroads of history, science, and human experience, visit our home at Light Not Studios. That's lightnotstudios.com. Until next time, keep listening for the echoes.